The Crystal Dome in Dubai was a masterpiece of contemporary architecture, a soaring geodesic hemisphere of glass and titanium that seemed to float above the Persian Gulf like a captured star. Inside, 1,500 of the most influential figures in global design had gathered for the Apex Architecture Awards, the Oscars of the built world. Chandeliers like frozen fireworks hung from the lattice ceiling. The floor was black marble polished to a mirror. The air hummed with the sound of 7 languages, clinking champagne flutes, and the particular electricity of an industry waiting to crown its newest royalty. I stood near the stage, my hands trembling slightly, my gown of midnight blue silk rustling as I shifted my weight. I was 36 years old. I had spent 15 years building my firm, Studio Vance, from a drafting table in a rented garage into the most sought-after boutique architecture practice on 3 continents. Tonight, our project, the Valencia Oceanographic Research Center, a spiraling white structure that seemed to emerge from the Mediterranean like a nautilus shell, was nominated for the Apex Award for Institutional Design. It was the most prestigious prize in my field. IT was the culmination of everything I had ever worked for. Beside me, my husband Marcus Hale was working the room with the practiced ease of a politician. He was 45, silver-templed, square-jawed, wearing a Tom Ford tuxedo I had paid for. He was the CEO of Studio Vance, a title I had given him 5 years ago, when the business side of the firm had grown too complex for me to manage while still designing. He had been my partner, my champion, the man who handled contracts and clients, so I could focus on what I loved, at least. That was what I had believed. 2 seats to my left sat Sophia Moreau, our marketing director. She was 28, French, with cheekbones that could cut glass and a scarlet dress that clung to her figure like liquid fire. She had joined the firm 3 years ago on Marcus's recommendation. She was brilliant at her job, charming with clients, and, as I had discovered 6 months ago, sleeping with my husband. I had found the hotel receipts in his briefcase. I had found the texts on his phone, and I had confronted him, and he had wept and apologized and sworn it was over. And because I loved him, because we had been married for 11 years, because I believed that marriage meant forgiveness, I had given him another chance. I had buried my pain under a mountain of work and told myself that everything would be fine. I was a fool. The ceremony began. Awards were presented. Speeches were made. The Valencia Center was announced as the winner in our category, and the crowd erupted. Marcus kissed my cheek, his smile wide and triumphant. "Go on," he said. "Go get your trophy." I walked onto the stage, my heart pounding, my eyes stinging with tears I refused to shed. The applause was deafening. I accepted the crystal trophy from the presenter, the legendary architect Alara Whitmore, my namesake, the woman my mother had admired so much she'd given me her name. I turned to the microphone, and I began to speak. Thank you. This project was a labor of love for so many people. I want to thank my team at Studio Vance, the engineers who made the impossible possible, and my husband Marcus, who has supported me through every challenge. This award belongs to all of us. Polite applause. I stepped back, ready to return to my seat. And that was when Marcus rose from his chair and walked toward the stage. "I'm sorry, everyone," he said, his voice booming through the sound system. "But I can't let this continue. What my wife just said, it's not entirely true. The Valencia Center was not her design. It was mine." The room went silent. I froze, the trophy heavy in my hands. "I have stayed silent for years," Marcus continued, his face arranged in an expression of pained nobility, "because I wanted to protect Vivian. She's my wife, I love her. But she's been struggling with severe mental health issues for a long time. The pressure of running the firm, the long hours, the expectations, they broke something in her. She began to claim credit for work that wasn't hers. She began to have episodes of paranoia, accusing me of infidelity, accusing our staff of conspiracy. Last month, she threatened a junior architect with a drafting knife. We had to call security." Gasps rippled through the audience, phones lifted, cameras flash. I saw journalists in the front row scribbling furiously. I saw the faces of my peers, people I had respected and competed with for years, shift from admiration to shock to something that looked like revulsion. Therefore, Marcus said, with the support of our board and our medical advisors, I am assuming full control of Studio Vance, effective immediately. Vivian will be stepping away to focus on her health. My colleague Sophia Moreau, who has been instrumental in managing the firm during Vivian's decline, will be taking over as Chief Design Officer. The Valencia Center will be recredited to me as its true author, and we ask for your understanding and discretion during this difficult transition. Sophia rose from her seat and walked onto the stage, her scarlet dress catching the light. She took the microphone, her eyes glistening with manufactured tears. Vivian, if you're listening, we love you. We're doing this because we love you. The firm will be in good hands. You can rest now. The audience was frozen, trapped between voyeurism and discomfort. I saw the jury members exchanging uncertain glances. I saw the Apex chairman reaching for his phone. I saw my entire career being dismantled, piece by piece, in front of 1,500 people. I set down the trophy. The sound it made against the podium was sharp, definitive. That was a very convincing performance, I said, and my voice was steady, calm. The voice I used in client meetings when I was about to explain why a project was going to come in under budget. Did you rehearse it, Marcus? It felt rehearsed. Marcus's eyes flickered. Vivian, please. Don't make a scene. I'm not making a scene. I'm asking a question. You just told 1,500 people that I'm insane. You just claimed credit for my design. You just handed my firm to your mistress. And you're asking me not to make a scene? Sophia's compassionate mask tightened. Vivian, the doctors said you might react like this, but that's why we have medical professionals standing by. She gestured, and 2 men in dark suits stepped forward from the wings. Please don't force us to make this more difficult. I looked at the men, then I looked at my husband, and I looked at the woman who had been warming his bed while pretending to be my friend, and I felt something inside me shift. Not break. I had broken already 6 months ago, when I found the first hotel receipt. What was happening now was something different, something harder. Something that felt like the first flexing of a muscle I had forgotten I possessed. You're right about one thing, I said. I have been struggling, not with mental illness, with the lies, the gaslighting, the systematic theft of my work. 4 or 5 years, I have let you take credit for designs I created. I let you call yourself the visionary behind Studio Vance, while I was the one sketching floor plans at 3 a.m. I let you do it because I loved you, and because I believed that marriage meant sharing. But you weren't sharing. You were stealing, and I have the proof. I reached into my clutch and pulled out a slim tablet that I pressed a button. The massive screen behind the stage, the one that had been displaying the Valencia Center in all its glory, flickered to black. Every design that has ever come out of Studio Vance, I said, was created using a proprietary software platform I developed. That platform timestamps every keystroke, every sketch, every revision. It records the biometric signature of the user. IT is, in effect, a digital witness to the creative process. Shall we look at the records for the Valencia Center? The screen flickered to life. A timeline appeared. Dates, times, user identifications. Thousands of hours of design work, all logged under my name. Marcus's name appeared exactly twice. Once for a login that lasted 6 minutes. Once for a login that lasted 3. This is not a mental health crisis, I said, my voice carrying across the silent auditorium. This is a hostile takeover. Marcus has been planning this for months. He bribed 2 members of our board. He forged medical documents with the help of a disgraced psychiatrist named Harold Reinhardt. And he's been having an affair with Sophia Moreau for 3 years, an affair I discovered 6 months ago and foolishly forgave. The audience erupted. Journalists were standing now, their phones held high. The jury members were huddled in urgent conference. The men in dark suits who'd been approaching me had stopped, uncertain. This is absurd, Marcus shouted, his composure cracking. She's doctored those records. She's paranoid. Everyone knows she's paranoid. Sophia, tell them. But Sophia was backing away, her face pale. Marcus, you said the records were clean. You said no one would be able to prove. Shut up, Sophia. No, I won't shut up. I took a step toward the center of the stage, commanding the room. Because there's something else you don't know, Marcus. Something you should have researched before you tried to steal my firm. Studio Vance is not an independent company. It's a subsidiary. A subsidiary of the Vance Architecture Group, the largest privately held design conglomerate in the world. And the Vance Architecture Group is not a public corporation. It's a private holding company, founded 40 years ago by my mother. The screen behind me shifted again, displaying a logo. A stylized V and A intertwined. The same logo that was embossed on every award and publication in the industry. The Vance Architecture Group logo. My mother, Alara Vance, the woman I was named after, was not just a legendary architect. She was the founder of the Vance Architecture Group. She built it from nothing in an industry that told women they didn't belong. When she died 12 years ago, she left the company to me. I am the majority shareholder. I am the chairwoman. I own not just Studio Vance, but 37 other firms for research institutes and the patent portfolio for the very digital design platform we just used to prove my authorship. Marcus staggered backward as if I'd struck him. No, this isn't. Your mother was a schoolteacher. You told me your mother was a schoolteacher. My mother was a schoolteacher and the most brilliant architect who ever lived. She worked under a pseudonym for decades because she knew the industry wouldn't accept a woman. She built her empire in secret and she passed it on to me. She told me, on my wedding day, to never reveal the full extent of our family's wealth until I was absolutely sure I could trust my husband. I wanted to trust you, Marcus. I gave you 11 years of chances. You failed everyone. The doors at the back of the Crystal Dome swung open. A woman in a perfectly cut charcoal suit strode down the center aisle, flanked by 6 attorneys and a security detail that moved with the quiet coordination of a presidential escort. She was 60 years old, silver-haired, with the unshakable authority of someone who had sat on the Apex jury for a decade. Her name was Margaret Delacroix, and she was not just a jury member. She was the chairwoman of the Apex Foundation, the organization that owned the Crystal Dome and hosted the awards. Madam Chairwoman, Margaret said, her voice resonating through the silent auditorium. The Foundation has been monitoring the situation, that we have reviewed the digital evidence. We have verified the authenticity of the design records. The Valencia Center was unequivocally designed by Vivian Vance. The Apex Award will be reissued in her name alone, and Mr. Hale and MS. Moreau, you're both banned from all Apex events, permanently. The Dubai authorities have been notified. They are waiting outside. Marcus lunged toward me, but 2 security agents intercepted him. Vivian, please. I'm your husband. 11 years. We can fix this. Therapy, counseling, whatever you need. Just don't. Don't what? Don't hold you accountable? I stepped close to him, close enough to see the panic in his eyes. You stood on a stage and called me insane. You tried to steal my life's work. You plotted with your mistress to have me committed. And now you want mercy? You will receive the same mercy you showed me none. They dragged him toward the exit, his shouts fading. Sophia stumbled after him, her scarlet dress catching on a chair, her face a mask of tears and fury. When the doors closed behind them, the Crystal Dome erupted, not in horror, but in thunderous, cathartic applause. The jury members rose to their feet. The journalists were typing furiously. Margaret Delacroix embraced me on stage. Your mother would be proud of you, she whispered. She was my closest friend. She always said this day would come. She just didn't know it would take so long. She knew, I said, tears finally spilling down my cheeks. She prepared me for it. I just didn't realize until tonight. The aftermath was swift and merciless. Marcus Hale was charged with fraud, forgery, and conspiracy. The evidence Margaret's legal team had gathered was overwhelming. He was convicted on 19 counts and sentenced to 16 years in a federal prison. Sophia Moreau testified against him in exchange for a reduced sentence. She received 3 years and a permanent ban from working in architecture. The last I heard, she was living in a small town in Provence, working at a bakery, her scarlet dress long since sold. Studio Vance was rebranded as Vance Atelier, and the Valencia Center was rededicated under my name. I stood at the ribbon-cutting ceremony 6 months later, watching the Mediterranean sun glint off the spiraling white walls, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. The ceremony was attended by dignitaries, journalists, and a man I had never met before. He was tall, silver-haired, with the quiet intensity of someone who had spent his life building things. His name was Adrian Sterling, and he was the CEO of Sterling Global, the investment conglomerate that had been quietly acquiring architecture firms for the past decade. "Ms. Vance," he said, extending his hand after the ceremony. "I've been trying to get a meeting with you for 3 years. Your husband, ex-husband, blocked every request. Now I understand why. I would like to discuss a partnership between Sterling Global and the Vance Architecture Group. A real partnership, not a takeover, not a merger, an alliance." I took his hand. "I'm listening." What followed was a partnership that transformed both our companies. Sterling Global and the Vance Architecture Group merged their design and development divisions, creating the largest integrated architecture and real estate conglomerate in the world. I remained chairwoman. Adrian became my business partner and eventually something more. We were married 2 years later in a small ceremony at the Valencia Center, the building that had been the site of my greatest triumph. Margaret Delacroix officiated. My mother's photograph sat in the front row, beside a bouquet of white roses. On our wedding night, Adrian asked me why I had trusted him after everything I had survived. "Because you never asked me to shrink," I said. "You never asked me to step aside. You never made me feel like I had to choose between being loved and being powerful. You saw the woman who stood on that stage and refused to be erased, and you loved her." "I loved her the moment I saw her," he said. "That night, on the live stream from Dubai that I was watching from my office in New York. I saw you dismantle your husband's plot with the precision of a master builder, and I thought, that's her. That's the woman I've been waiting for my entire life." I kissed him, and I thought about the woman I had been. The one who had trusted Marcus Hale, loved him, and nearly been destroyed by him. She had been naive, but she had also been strong. Strong enough to survive, strong enough to rebuild, strong enough to love again. 10 years after that night in Dubai, I stood on the rooftop of Vance Tower in Manhattan, looking out at a city that my designs had helped shape. MY Company was thriving. MY Marriage was strong. My legacy was secure. MY Daughter, we named her Alara after my mother, was 7 years old, already sketching buildings in her notebook. Somewhere, Marcus Hale was sitting in a federal prison, counting the years. Somewhere, Sophia Moreau was living a life of quiet obscurity. And I was here, alive, free, victorious. Not because I was lucky, not because I was cruel, but because I had finally learned that the woman they called unstable was the woman who would build the future. And I was just getting started.